right, good afternoon and welcome to the February 28th, 2022 City of Mesa Planning and Zoning public hearing. I'm Jeff Crockett and we'll begin with a roll call. Chair Crockett present, Vice Chair Ayers.
Here.
Board Member Allen.
Here.
Board Member Sarkisian.
Here.
Board Member Peterson.
Here.
Board Member Pitcher.
Here.
And Board Member Montez.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and start with our agenda. Now, typically there's an introduction that plays here that kind of lays out the process. That we had a little technical difficulty today, so I'll go ahead and explain that we have a consent agenda, and the items on the consent agenda are voted on in one block. So if you have an item you would like to speak on today, we need to have you fill out a speaker's card. Now, we have two speaker's cards for agenda item 4A and item 4F. So those will come off of consent, and there'll be presentations on those two items by the staff, and there will be an opportunity for public comment. If there's another item that you're here for that you would like to speak, we need you to quickly raise your hand and fill out one of these blue cards that we can get from Pamela up here. So I think we're okay. So Board Member Allen has volunteered to read our consent agenda today, so I'll go ahead and have her do that now.
Thank you. These are the items on the consent agenda for the Planning and Zoning meeting for September 28th, 2022. Item 2A, PZ 22166, minutes from the September 14th, 2022 study session and regular meeting. Item 3A, ZON 2200609, District 1, within the 2800 block of East McKellips Road and within the 1900 block of North Lindsay Road, located south of McKellips Road and east of Lindsay Road. Site plan review. This request will allow for the expansion of an existing car wash, and the staff recommendation is approval with conditions. The next item on the agenda, consent agenda, is 4B, ZON 2200263, District 2, within the 5600 to 5800 blocks of East Inverness Avenue, and within the 5600 to 5800 blocks of South Sunnyview, and located east of Higley Road, north of Baseline Road, rezoned from planned employment park with a planned area development overlay and council use permit to planned employment park with a planned area development overlay, light industrial with a planned area development overlay, LIPAD. Do I need, just a clarification, do I need to read the LIPAD? No, I got it. And a site plan review. This request allows for an industrial development, and the staff recommendation is to continue to the October 12th, 2022 Planning and Zoning meeting. Item 4C, ZON 22-00269, District 6, within the 10,600 and 11,000 blocks of East Williamsville Road and within the 6,200 and 6,300 blocks of South Signal Butte Road, located south of Williamsville Road on the north side, on both sides of Signal Butte Road, rezoned from agricultural, light industrial, and a planned area development overlay, general commercial with a planned area development overlay and a council use permit, and general industrial to general commercial with a planned area development overlay and council use permit, and light industrial with a planned area development overlay and a council use permit. This request will allow for the future development of an auto mall, large commercial development, and multiple residence development.
Board Member Allen, can you
Yes.
read that case number into the record again?
This one?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. This one is ZON 2200267, District 6, within the 10,600 and the 11,000.
I think we're good.
You're good.
We just need the staff recommendation.
Oh.
This one.
Sorry, we just needed a correction with the case number, sorry.
Okay, got it. Approval with conditions. Item 4D, ZON 2200583, District 3, within the 700 block of West 8th Place, located west of Country Club Drive and north of Rio Salado Parkway, a site plan review. This request will allow for the multiple residence development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4E, excuse me, ZON 22-00732, District 5, within the 1400 block of South Crispin Road, located west of South Crispin Road and south of East Hampton Avenue. Site plan review and special use permit. This request will allow for a car wash. Staff recommendations continue to the October 12th, 2022 Planning and Zoning meeting. And last, we have item 5A, Baseline Logistics Park, District 2, within the 5600 to 5800 blocks of East Inverness Avenue, and within the 56 to 5800 blocks of South Sunview, located east of Higley Road and north of Baseline Road, a preliminary plat. This is a companion case to ZON 22-00263 associated with item 4B. And the staff recommendation is to continue to the October 12th, 2022 Planning and Zoning meeting. This concludes the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Board Member Allen. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Ayers. We're ready to vote. Okay, by your vote of 7 ayes, no noes, you have passed the consent agenda today. We'll now turn it over to our Assistant Director for staff presentations.
All right, Chair, board members, the first item we have off of consent is item 4A, which is ZON 21-01271, and Cassidy will be making this presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. This is case number ZON 21-01271. This is a request to rezone a property from LC and RS6 to RM4 with a planned area development overlay and site plan review to allow for development of a multiple residence. The site is located on the south side of West University Drive and west of Country Club Drive. The general plan designation for the property is neighborhood. The site is also located within the West Main Street area plan. The zoning request before you today is a rezone to multiple residence 4 with a planned area development overlay, and multiple residence is a permitted use in the RM zoning district. Here you can see an existing photo of the site. There is currently one single residence building on the site with the remainder of the site as vacant. So the site plan is for 28 multiple residence units varying from 2 stories to 3 stories with a centralized amenity as well as an amenity area located at the southeast area of the site, and 9 visitor parking spaces located on the southern border of the site. The site will be exclusively accessed from University Drive with units facing both Hossack and Date. As a part of the PAD request, there are certain deviations from development standards that are being proposed. Those include reductions to the minimum building and landscape setbacks along Date Hossack, as well as the rear southern property line. Modifications to the building separation requirements, open space, setback of cross drive aisles, and interior parking lot landscaping. And then finally, modifications to the building entrance requirements, the setback of attached garages, and the maximum fence heights along both Date and Hossack streets. The applicant did attend a design review board work session on March 8th of this year. The design review board expressed concerns with the proposed design and compatibility of the use and design with the surrounding development and recommended minor changes to be more consistent with the surrounding existing single residence subdivision. The applicant did conduct a citizen participation process, which included letters to property owners within 1,000 feet, as well as HOAs and registered neighborhoods. They held one virtual meeting in April of this year. There were no attendees to that virtual meeting. We did receive 2 attendees at the March Design Review Board session in opposition of the case, as well as one additional letter of opposition that was submitted for that Design Review Board after the fact, and then one letter in support of the proposed development. In summary, we find that the proposed development complies with the 2040 Mesa General Plan, as well as the criteria for a PAD overlay and site plan review, and staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Thank you, Cassidy. Are there questions on this item from the members of the board for staff? Not seeing any. Thank you. We'll now hear from the applicant on this item. And if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Dave Zellner. My address is 6368 South Foothills Drive, Gold Canyon, Arizona. I work with Tim Boyle Design, and I think at this time, since staff has kind of recommended approval, it may be just that we want to hear the comments and then kind of respond to those.
That'd be just great. Thank you. We'll have you back up after we have a public comment. So we'll open the hearing now for public comment, and I've received two speakers slips on this from folks requesting to speak. So we'll have them come up, and then we do have some written comments that have been provided that we'll read here when we get done with our live speakers. So let's first hear from Mike Wright. And Mr. Wright, if you would come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak on this item.
Thank you. I don't think I'll take all three. My name is Mike Wright. I live at 629 West Caballero Circle, and it's right behind the Wright House, which is my business and property. We are directly across the street from this project, and we highly recommend it. We're kind of excited, frankly, about the improvement to the neighborhood that it would make. The current status of that property is a little bit sad. It's half of it is in just open, vacant property with weeds and dirt. And so we look forward to having a project of this quality to see and for our customers to see as they come into the area. So we do support it and hope that you'll approve it. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions? Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Stuart Quist. Mr. Quist, hopefully I pronounced that right. If you'd state your name for the record and provide your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes also.
I hope to take, if I had more time, I would take more time, but 3 I will try to do. My name is Stuart Quist. I live at 451 North Cherry, Mesa, in the 1,000-foot radius there. I've had a Mesa address for 60 years. I have been associated with this address where I currently live for 43 years. The comments that I have submitted online is a brief summary of what I would like to say. I am opposed to this project for many, many reasons, one of which I remember about 35 years ago in this very chamber, the debate on what is now Passy Place, where Mr. Michael Wright now resides. They wanted to put in 3-story high-density housing there, and the developers made the claim that they would never be able to sell, they would never be able to make money if they were single-family homes. And here we are now, blessed with some really good quality families there, including Mr. Michael Wright. And now he is saying, no, we don't need that. We can go with the high-density housing now that he's got his. Well, this neighborhood, north and south of University, is single-family dwelling. There are a few 2 and 3 and 4 apartment complexes on University, but it would be much better for the community, for the neighborhood, to have single-family homes there. Good quality, high fences along University. If there's more reasons why I'm opposed to it. The drawings here that were shown are just a tiny bit deceptive. Yes, the current property, yeah, it's in dismay. Just like 35 years ago, the property there where Mr. Michael Wright lives now. But what these pictures don't show is the power lines. On the south side of University, I'm pretty sure that they are City of Mesa utility power lines, high voltage, probably 115 kV. And I have recommended to the architect that we put in a bus pullout. That would make it easier to accept the plan if there was a bus pullout, so that when the traffic backs up on University, eastbound, morning and night, the buses would have a place to pull out and the traffic would be able to flow better. But those power lines, if you could work with the City of Mesa Utility Company or whoever they belong to and have them go underground just in that section, then you could do a nice bus pull out and it would be a lot more palatable to accept the whole project. Also, I don't see in the plans here, or it's not mentioned, any plans for EV charging stations. I would highly recommend that if it's going to be, as it's advertised, modern townhouses, well, let's get some EV charging stations, one per parking space.
Mr. Quist, we're about out of time. Is there anything you'd like to say just in conclusion?
The comments that I have submitted online, you have, we want to attract high-quality families.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, that's all the speakers cards I have on this one from people that wanted to speak. I do have a letter of support here from DJ and Sarah Stapley, which will be part of the record on this case. And then I'll ask Board Member Ayers to read in the written comments that we've received from people who did not wish to speak but who wanted their comments read.
Okay. 3 total comments. We'll start off with the first from Esther Vreeland at 536 West 3rd Place. Roughly 45 years ago, Mr. Bernard Davis and others successfully petitioned the zoning board to change the zoning in the area to avoid having multi-level buildings. This area consists of single-level homes and single-level small businesses, so the current zoning, LC and RS6, is very appropriate for the area. Mr. Boyle is trying to change the zoning to build what we didn't want all those years ago. This is a suburb, not a city. We live here to get away from exactly what Mr. Boyle proposes. Many homes in a small footprint are very profitable, but it needs to be an appropriate area. Second comment from Delaney Cato at 660 West 2nd Place, who is also in opposition. The addition of the multifamily housing results in increased traffic and street parking and potentially decreased property values of current homes. Increased traffic during the proposed development would cause backups on University, and additional traffic negatively impacts the safety of kids walking to school. Parking is a concern, as residents often use garages for storage and park on the street, which negatively impacts existing neighborhood residents. The limited parking will also force visitors to park on the street. This proposal is inconsistent with the existing SFR neighborhood. The last comment is from Damian Carpenter at 322 North Hossick, who is in support of the project. We have a housing crisis here in Arizona. 300 people are moving here daily, and according to ADOH, we are 270,000 housing units short to meet our housing demand. This project will bring needed workforce housing to Arizona teachers, police officers, and families. I moved to the Cando neighborhood a little over 5 years ago. This location for the proposed project has been an eyesore. It currently has one single-family home and is surrounded by adjacent unkept dirt lots. I like the modern design of these proposed units and the added landscaping the units will bring to the neighborhood. Please pass.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'll close our public comment portion of the proceeding and invite the applicant to come back up and respond to anything that you heard.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board, Dave Zellner. Do want to kind of highlight that the proposal for this project is attached, basically single family. And so it's not what you would typically talk about in multifamily, where it's 2 bedrooms on top of 3 bedrooms on top of, so we think that, these will be more stable tenants because they, have garages and amenities that will keep them there and won't be kind of subject to the short-term tendency that sometimes walk-ups have. I believe can we pull the zoning picture back up from the case?
The aerial.
So I think at this time, this property, the north, probably 2/3 of it is actually zoned LC, so it's not currently zoned for single family. There are 2 single family lots, so the, I guess the belief that this would become single family, I don't know that that would be supported, within this area for a variety of reasons, especially being on University. And so we think that this offers the middle housing option in a form that is not as dense as it possibly could be. And so we think that hopefully it will be supported for that. EV charging stations will probably come about at some point. And, that's something I think that the market should determine. We do have a bus stop being put here, and we are in compliance with the request that transportation has made for this property. So they did not ask us for a bus pullout. They did ask for a bus stop covered area, and we have provided that. So I think, a lot of things historically happen, and eventually things change. So I know something might have happened 35 years ago. I'm not sure the circumstances are exactly the same now in regards to the demand for housing, the need for housing, and those kind of things. So we would just appreciate you supporting the development.
Okay, before you leave, let me just find out, are there any questions for the applicant on this? Board Member Pitcher.
Just a quick question. Are these going to be for rent or are these going to be for purchase?
That's to be determined at this point. So
Are they being metered separately?
I don't know that we've gotten that far in the design process for the construction permit. So I think that's kind of also being worked out.
Anything else for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, is there any discussion on this item? Board Member Allen?
I'll go ahead. Have we closed the public hearing?
The
part of it? Okay.
public hearing is closed.
Just to, I guess my thoughts on this, or the way I'm leaning, I believe that this location, because it faces University, it's more conducive to a multifamily than it is to a single family. So for that reason, I would support this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Allen. Any other comments? If we don't have any other discussion or comments, then I'll entertain a motion on this item.
If I could go ahead then. I would make a motion that we approve ZON 21-01271 District 4 within the 600 block of West University Drive, within the 300 block of North Hossig, and within the 300 block of North Date, located west of Country Club on the south side of University, rezoned from limited commercial and single residence 6 to multiple residence 4 with a planned area development overlay and site plan review. This request will allow for a multiple residence development, and with staff recommendations approval with conditions.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Board Member Sarkisian. Let's go ahead and vote. Okay, by your vote of 7 ayes and no noes, this item has passed. Thank you. I'll turn it back to staff.
All right, so Chair and board members, the next item off the consent agenda is item 4F, which is ZON 22-00942, and Josh will be making a presentation.
Chairman, I need to recuse myself from this one. My family is related to, my wife's family is related to the applicant.
Thank you, Board Member Pitcher. Appreciate that.
All right, great. Thank you. This is for ZON 22-00942 4142. This specifically is for a rezone and site plan review for a multiple residence community. This is located specifically south of Southern Avenue, relatively east of Greenfield, directly north of Hampton, and essentially the knuckle at Hampton and 48th. And overall, the general plan designation for this site is neighborhood. The intent of the neighborhood district is to provide a clean, safe, and healthy area, as well as a sense of place and to provide housing of multiple different types. As part of that, the requested rezone for this site is for multiple residence 3 with planned area development overlay. As part of that, the one request as for the planned area development is for the height of the wall separating this and single residence uses. This is the existing site seen from 48th Street itself. This is where the main entrance for the facility will be located and the only entrance accessible by the residents on site. Overall, the site plan here provided to you does show the overall site plan for this site. You'll see a secondary access going to Hampton Avenue. This is specifically for emergency access only, based off the initial outreach that the applicant had gone through. Multiple citizens came with concerns about the increased traffic flows on Hampton and 48th. As part of that, they worked with staff as well as the applicant to address that and to do fire access only. As well, they've reduced the overall density from what was originally proposed, as well as the overall heights for buildings 9, 10, 12, 4, and 3 from a 3-story height to a 2-story height to help feather or taper the overall height in that area, as well as provide for some extended retention on the west side in order to create an additional buffer as well. Again, just to reiterate, the only PAD modification for this site, the zoning code has a requirement that in any residential zone, the max height be 6 foot. The applicant is requesting 8 based off of their outreach and based off of the concerns of citizens, specifically within the Sunny Mesa neighborhood to the south and southwest of this site had concerns due to the height of the structures overall. Here's the general landscape plan. It's a little easier to see kind of the buffering provided on the west side of the site. And overall, again, just to reiterate, the south side of the site has no pedestrian access to Hampton Avenue, and 48th, it is emergency access for fire vehicles, since that is a requirement for fire code due to the number of units on site. This request was seen before the Design Review Board on July 12th. As part of that, there was minor comments provided. At this time, those have been addressed and are reflected on the site plan and elevations as part of your packet. Overall, here's the citizen participation area for notified within 1,000 feet. As part of their extensive citizen participation outreach, there's multiple neighborhood meetings, I believe at least 2, possibly 3, and then numerous one-on-ones between the applicant and the representatives, as well as concerned citizens. Most of the comments were in general opposition to the use, and then as if they were going to have to live with it on how to address that most correctly. As part of that, the reduced density and heights for those adjacent structures were reduced, as well as that access on Hampton resolved with emergency access, as well as that increased buffering and that wall height on the western and southern edge. So based off of that and the general findings of staff is recommending approval with conditions. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Josh. Are there questions for staff on this item? Not seeing any. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a public.
You know what?
I'm on the phone.
Okay.
Are we going to be allowed to speak?
Yeah, we haven't quite yet got to the public comment portion, so we'll get back to you in just a minute. Let me invite the applicant up now.
Sorry, technical. There we go. Thank you. Sean Lake, 1744 South Val Vista, here on behalf of the Killian family and LMC Development for the proposal that's before you this evening. We appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk about what's left, I guess, the last piece of the Killian family farm. For those who have lived in Mesa quite a long time, you can kind of remember that the Killian Farm was a substantial area in this area going north, including Sunland Village, the Sunland Village Towers, going south. There's a lot of land that has been developed going over to the Walgreens and over to a lot of development kind of in this mile area, if you will, that the Killians and other farmers have developed over the years. But over the years, it's kind of been whittled away and developed and developed and developed and developed and developed and developed, and now we're down at the end of Max's life, Mr. Killian, who was I've known for many, many, many years. We're down to the last remaining parcel that is left with the Killian Ranch, and that's what we're here to discuss, the south half, or generally south half of that property and what is being proposed for that development. As always, staff has done an excellent job. We've appreciated working with Josh and Rachel and the planning staff on this project, and also extensive outreach with the neighbors and working on the project. Shown on the screen is the property that we're talking about, generally bounded on the west by Sunny Mesa, on the south by Hampton and a Fulton development, and then on the east by the Franklin Brim Hall high school or elementary school, Franklin Brim Hall schools there. And then on the north, obviously, would be the north half of a proposal that you'll see in the next month, and then also, I believe, the LDS Church that has one off of 48th Street. Those are kind of the boundaries of what is around this site. As Josh pointed out, it is neighborhood, which allows a variety of different uses for the general plan, so I won't spend a lot of time. The existing zoning is both a combination of R43 for the ranch and R115, and we are proposing to take it to RM3 for the development of the proposed property. Now let's talk a little bit about the development plan, and then we'll talk about some of the changes that have occurred. The proposed project will be entirely accessed off of 48th Street. So if you look on this plan, kind of in the middle to the right top is 48th Street. 48th Street is a collector that will access directly up to Southern Avenue. So all of this property will come and go from 48th Street off of Southern. There will be no access to the south. No vehicular, no pedestrian access to the south. That was redesigned as a result of working with the neighbors. So this will be a gated community that will come and go off of 48th Street, and the only users that would use 48th Street are the LDS Church, a medical office building, and then obviously the north development when that develops as well. So there would be no access to the east, to the west, or to the south. It will all go straight out to Southern, which is a major arterial in the city of Mesa. The proposal is for a gated multifamily community with buildings roughly 1-story, 2-story, and 3-story as you transition. As a result of working with the neighbors, the perimeter along the west and south have 1-story structures. Those would be garages along those to create that buffer after the landscape strip along that west and south side. Then you'll see kind of we'll call them tan buildings. And there's kind of a distinction, tan and we'll call it white or beige. The tan buildings along the west and along the south would be 2-story structures. And then as you transition into the site, it would go up to 3-story structures further in and closer to the school and closer to the church. The densities around, or it would be 248 units of about 17 units to the acre with about 12 buildings broken up and spread evenly throughout the site, with open space significantly exceeding the standards or code of the city of Mesa, as well as parking exceeding the city's parking standard for this overall project. The amenities for this project are extensive and spread throughout the community. There's different locations. It's not just one central amenity in the center, but there's a main amenity in the center, but then there's also parks spread throughout the project so that you don't have far to walk from your specific home to get to a recreational area to go walk your dog or to just go kick a ball or lay out in the sun by the pool if you want. So there's a lot of things that you can do. There's a lot of amenities, extensive amenities that are listed here to really exemplify the high quality of this project. This is not an average multifamily complex. We think this is going to be a much higher rent area. We think the rents that will be demanded will be higher rents in here. So the quality of this development will reflect that with the amenities and the buildings and the architecture. We have gone to the Design Review Board, and they did like the elevations. They thought they were very attractive and nice, and so we've made some changes in design as a result of that DRB meeting to reflect the high quality, the nice project that we're trying to build here in this area. As I mentioned earlier, there has been extensive outreach with the community. You've got multiple different groups and organizations, an HOA on the west and the east and the north, and the school and the church on the east side. Extensive outreach. You do have letters of support from several of those groups in your packet to the proposed project. But let's kind of go over, there were a lot of neighborhood meetings, a lot of individual meetings. We were hosted at a barbecue, which was very nice by the community to the west to host a barbecue and invite us to come and present the project. So in addition to what is required by the code, I think the applicant, LMC, went above and beyond to try to work with the community and the neighbors to meet and listen and hear and make revisions to the plan as a direct result of those discussions. Some of the changes that were made as a result of those meetings with the neighbors obviously were a reduction of the density, the transitioning of the 1-story to 2-story to 3-story as you get internal to the site, moving the buildings further away from the neighbors both on the east or on the west and the south sides, creating large landscape areas and setbacks, particularly on the west side, and then along the buffering along the south side. Placement of trees in and around the project to address specific buffering areas as you go for this project. That was looked at as well. The parking ratio was substantially increased so that it did meet code and exceed code. And so that is also in there. And again, I mentioned enhancing the elevations. Towards the end, there was also a discussion about the wall. There is a wall along the west side, and they did agree as part of this, provided the neighbors agree, to replace the existing wall along the west side with an 8-foot wall. We will do that. Obviously, you have to have the permission of that neighboring property owner to tear down the existing wall and replace it, but if those neighbors do agree, they have agreed to go ahead and replace that existing wall with an 8-foot wall along that perimeter. So as far as Hampton Road goes, let's talk about, as a result of that, you can see they pushed and shifted some buildings around, so there's some substantial setbacks. Here's some setbacks along the west side. You can see quite a big distance between 160 to 240 feet at different vantage points, and you can see the key up in the top right corner. So there is a large setback, particularly on the west side. And you can see on the bottom image how you transition, or the middle image, how you transition from the perimeter 8-foot wall, the landscape strip, the 1-story, the 2-story, the 3-story as you go further into the site. Along the south side, the same thing. They pushed buildings around to have 2-story buildings along that south side after the landscape strip, and there will be improvements done to Hampton Road, which is there, to kind of finish it off. If those who have driven Hampton lately, it's a road, but on the north side, it's kind of dirt and it's not really finished, and then at the corner, it's not really finished. So they will make improvements and finish off Hampton Road as part of this development, but will not access Hampton. So they're going to improve it for others to drive on that public road on Hampton. So that will be completed as part of this project. The last slide that I have, in one of the in an earlier version of the project, we did show access to Hampton on the south. We thought that would be important to have, having access to the north, to southern, and to Hampton, but that was a major issue for the community in talking with the neighbors to the south. So that access point was removed, and it will not access south to the Hampton. Now, we do have emergency access only for fire trucks to crash through a gate and get through there, but that would only be emergency access. Nobody within this development will be able to take their car and drive through that area to get to south to Hampton. All traffic in and out of this project will go north to 48th Street, directly to Southern. So a lot of big changes that were done as a result of a lot of meetings and extensive outreach with the community. We think we've come up with a great plan that buffers and transitions and meets the needs and working with the community. We think this is going to be a high quality project that will fit in the community and will be beneficial to this area. And we think will be a good asset to the Killian legacy of farm that has developed for many, many, many years as you've transitioned down. So we think this will be a good statement to put a stamp on that last little piece of property of the ranch or the farm. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions, but we would request your support on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for the applicant on this one?
Yes.
Oh, well, hold
Yes.
on one sec. We haven't got quite to the public comment yet. We're almost there. Who is this on the phone? All right, we'll come back to that. Before we get back to staff, are there any other questions for the applicant at this time? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, was it Josh? Who was on? Yeah, Josh, can you come back up and answer a question?
Any chance I get to pick on Josh? Is there any plan to signalize 48th and Southern?
Yeah, so I know, I believe Ryan is here for the transportation, but at this time, based off the comments provided to me by transportation, there's no signalization planned at this time.
So we're not planning to signalize that. I think that's one of the things I would be really interested in with the volume of traffic with these units coming off of that north direction. So, okay. He's coming up, it looks like.
Yep.
Chair Board, Ryan Hudson. I'm with the City of Mesa Transportation Department. I'm the city traffic engineer, and I can certainly speak to what we look at when we look at warrants for signalizing an intersection. So specifically for that intersection, we look to the minor street, what kind of trips would be anticipated for that south leg, and how that interacts with the major arterial street, which is Southern in this case. We follow federal standards for what would warrant a traffic signal, and that's based upon the anticipated number of trips coming out of the site and how that primarily the left turn onto Southern would interact and what kind of delay would be anticipated, what kind of demand would be there, the volumes. Looking at the numbers for what's anticipated here, the trip generation coming out of the site, it is not anticipated to meet those warrants. So we are not recommending a traffic signal at this time at that intersection.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Okay, well, at this time, let's go ahead and we'll take public comment, open it up for public comment. I have four people here in the council chamber that have requested to speak, and then I have someone on the phone. So let's start with the person on the phone. Would you please state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak to this item.
Yes, my name is Cindy Seams. I live at 4743 East Harmony Circle in Sunny Mesa. And I've got many, many concerns over this development. First of all, it being 3 stories is way too tall for this area. There is nothing in this area that is 3 stories. Having that many people in that small area and having only one access out of that area is going to be horrendous. Waiting in line, especially with the other project that's going in and using that same exit on 48th Street up to Southern, is going to be horrendous. The other issue I have is with the parking in that area. They said it's like 1.3 parking spaces per unit, and you're going to have 3-bedroom units with kids coming in and having 3 cars, and then their friends come over and there's not enough parking. I've seen this with many apartments that my son has been in, and they end up parking in the neighborhoods around. This is not designed to work in this area. This needs to be single-family homes. It's going to put too much traffic coming in and out of that area, and it's going to be too tall for this area. It's just going to be an eyesore. I know you guys think it looks pretty, but it's not. It's not appropriate for this area. You've got a school and a church, and now you're going to put apartments and big buildings in there that are just We've already got 8 apartment complexes around this area, and I'm living in a custom home neighborhood. This is just not acceptable. It needs to be single-family homes. If you can't approve that, and you go ahead and approve this apartment complex, it needs to at least be no more than 2 stories.
Okay, thank you.
Please don't approve this.
Okay, thank you. Their next speaker is Robert Johnson. Mr. Johnson, if you'd come up, and you've probably figured out by now that you need to state your name and address, and that you have 3 minutes.
Problem is I need a little bit more than 3 minutes, but my name is Robert Johnson, 4762 East Harmony Mesa, Arizona. I've lived in the area for about 22 years. I'm the HOA president, and I've actually had the opportunity to work with all the other HOAs within the area. So we made multiple changes. They actually came out, we probably had 10 meetings. We had it directly with the developer. He came right straight to us. We sat down and talked. I can't even tell you how many times he was at the house. Very good. We're actually in favor, which you usually don't hear because most people don't want apartments. But when we looked at the whole scenario, it kind of fits within us. The traffic out the back was absolutely a disaster. You'd have to see the road and understand the traffic patterns and what we have to live with. For the extra traffic coming out, that was absolutely a non-starter, and we couldn't do it. It wouldn't even work. I could go over 100 things. But they set it up that way, so it's not. It's out the front, and we appreciate that. They also did come up with a wall. We're $1 million plus homes, way over $1 million these days, in the Sunny Mesa area. So security for us is a big thing. Being an HOA president, I got to protect everybody. We do have guarded gates for coming into the area. So raising the wall to 8 foot was absolutely a must. With the high trees that they're going to put in, with the drainage control, we had to work with all that. That all came into compliance with us. We worked with the neighbors on the back that this directly affected with traffic and everything, and it just worked for us. So we went ahead and went forth with that. So we're going to go ahead and back that project. With that, we like that there's extra space and that they've worked that way and opened it up, and there's that. The problem that we do have is that we're doing an apartment complex on the back, and they're looking to do an apartment complex on the front. But one of the main things that we don't want to do is that this has a impact on the front one. We're going to directly oppose the front project for this deal. We feel it is too dense. We feel it is too tall. The Sims, she was just talking about the front project being the 3-story. They've actually made the back so it's tolerable. Like I said, nobody really wants apartment complex, but we feel it's the easiest thing for the neighborhood, and we understand that there are more homes that are needed. So we're going to go ahead and back them and stand by it, and we're happy that they've worked with us in that degree. But we do not approve the other project and do not want this one to reflect the approval of it on the other project. Okay?
Thank you, appreciate it.
I just wanted to remind the board that since the speaker did mention a different project that isn't on today's agenda, to not speak on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This project still goes up to 3 stories, though.
Okay, so next up, I don't know, the last name is Olson? Is it Colleen? Yes. Colleen, come up, please, and state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I will take an extra minute here that doesn't count. I live in Sunny Mesa, and my backyard is going to be right next to this complex, this apartment. I did not know you had a letter from the HOA that most of us had approved this. There has not been a vote on this. I have not voted for this, and I am against this. And I spoke to 2 or 3 friends in the last few days when they heard I was speaking, and they agreed with me. And but that's beside the point. Okay. I'm Colleen Olson, and I live at 4659 East Glades Circle. And our property is to the west of this complex. And we are against going from a single residence to a multi-residence. And the reasons are, this is a very stable residential area. To the south of Holmes, we have Fulton Homes. To the east of Holmes, we have Hampton Homes. On the west end is Hunter's Glen. To the east is Killian Farms, and to the west is Sunny Mesa. And this feeds Mesa High, Brim Hall, and other schools. And as you look at the city of Mesa from Stapley clear to Power Road, you will not find where they have put apartments amid so many single homes. As you go west on Greenfield, you find the Summer Mesa subdivision, the All Red Ranch homes, the Dana homes, and Bradley Estates. They're all homes, and you do not find this. There are apartments on both Southern and Greenfield and Higley and Greenfield. And if we have this traffic would become horrendous. I will not be able to pull out of Sunny Mesa, I don't think, and make a left-hand turn if this goes in. The traffic will be that heavy. And also, it's just going to get worse. We want to keep this as a great single-family area. And it spoke of the history. Thank you. We have a history with the city of Mesa. Sally's Fabrics. You are keeping a sign, our sign from our 50 years of business in Mesa. You're holding this sign and trying to find a place to put it. I hope you do. So we do have history with you also. And like I said, there are apartments. There are apartments on the north side of Baseline, hundreds of apartments between Greenfield and Higley. We don't need more multi-residential homes, and we want to keep it this way. And I thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, David Tantalian. Might have not got the last name right. David, I can handle.
No problem. David Tantalian. My address is 4721 East Harmony Circle, Mesa, Arizona, Sunny Mesa. And I have maybe 3 points to make. The first one is that we did enjoy working with the developer on this project. A big issue that we had was when they came combined with two developments, we were not going to accept that. Again, 2 tenths. So moving forward, if that other development comes in front, we're not going to accept that. Too much densification, exactly for the same reasons that you've been hearing all along. And the key thing is that this developer has worked with us. The front developer, by the time they add everything up, is going to be a mess in that area. You already have apartments in Southern and Greenfield. You have apartments in Higley and Southern. You have apartments in Hampton and Higley. So I think your densification is very good for what you're trying to achieve within the city of Mesa. I'm a registered professional engineer that has been working in the city for 40 years. And I want to make a couple of points that I think I disagree with traffic control. One is Southern goes from 3 lanes to 2 lanes right in that area. There's no way you're going to be able to expand it to 3 lanes because of Sunny Mesa. You're not going to take property away from the existing owners. You have the school. You have traffic aligning the school every morning, and they're trying to get into the school, which is going to be the exit point for this development. So in my opinion, you do need a light in there. There's no question about that. Yes, you're looking at that development alone. Yes, you don't need it if it's just that it. But if you look at the whole compartment, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. The second concern is the grading and drainage of the area. This development is going to drain against Sunny Mesa. It's going to end up in that new wall if it overflows. It's going to be relaying on a 24-inch existing storm drain that was put over 30 years ago. That's an asset that belongs to the city. We need a guarantee from you guys that that is going to be operating as designed by the grading and drainage plan. The last thing we want is for our homes to get flooded, because that 24-inch line is plugged from all the sediment from the farm over 30 years. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and the last speaker slip I have is Jessie Pitcher, who says she may want to speak. I don't know if you've made up your mind yet, but come on up and...
Hey, everybody. Jessie Pitcher, 4660 East Garnet Circle. And I just want to, I'm actually part of the Killian family, so it is a little bit of sentimental for me. But on this particular project, I just don't appreciate the 3-story apartments. There's not a single 3-story building on this entire area. They have been great to work with. They've added some nice buffering and whatnot. I'm not sure the traffic department has been there during school time drop-offs and pickups. I would highly recommend studying that just a little bit more. Other than that, that's all I want to say tonight. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's all the speaker slips I have, and so with that, we'll close the public comment and invite the applicant to come back up and respond to some of the comments that you heard from the public.
Chair, did you happen to read in the comment from Sally Tackett on this item?
I did not. I'm sorry. Board Member Ayers, would you read that comment in?
Got a minute there, Sean, to get your thoughts together. All right, so yes, one comment from Sally Tackett, 4645 East Gables Circle, who is actually, let's see, in opposition, sorry, didn't have it on my chart. We are strongly opposed to this development. This proposal affects our property and privacy directly. We are already surrounded by 8 apartment complexes, totaling over 2,100 units. This would add an additional 500 units. We are saturated by 55 plus in Sunland Village. We would like to see more single-family homeowners in our area, owning their properties, putting down roots, and contributing to the community. No apartments, nothing over 2-story, no more retirement housing multi-residence. Parking and traffic are already a problem. Say no to this multi-residence project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Ayers. So now we'll close the public comment.
There we go.
And hear from the applicant.
Board Member Sean Lake, I appreciate the comments, and it has been a pleasure working with the neighbors, and we have appreciated working with them. It's in a time where you work on a lot of different projects and neighbors aren't exactly nice. The neighbors here are really nice. They're very friendly, so I do compliment them on working with the developer on this project. Let me address some specific issues. We're certainly willing to continue to work with the city's traffic engineer on a traffic signal at 48th Street. We'll continue to work on that. We'll provide additional information. Right now, the city is not recommending or that doesn't meet warrants, but we'll work with them on that. The other issue that was brought up was not enough parking in the neighborhood. Now, one of the particular concessions that was made when we closed off the vehicular access to the south to Hampton, because the concern was that people would not park in the community, that they would go park in the neighborhoods to the south. We not only closed off vehicular access, but we also closed off pedestrian access. So if somebody parked along Hampton on the south, I think the fastest way would have to be to walk out, I guess, around through the school, up and through the school, back out to Southern, and then back over west down to 48th, and then back into the community. That's a really long walk to get from your car to your apartment. I don't see that happening, and that was done intentionally so that people didn't. And the parking was brought up to code to exceed the code requirements. So we think parking should not be an issue for this project. 3-story was brought up. It's just too tall. We think you have a lot of different size and diversity of development in this area. I've been driving around this area for a long time, but I just wanted to go out there this morning to look at the old Killian Ranch and what has developed by Max and different developers over the many years to see what has happened not only with the Killian Ranch, but things around it. And so if you kind of go up, at a mile in each direction and look to see what's happening, you've got about 80% of that property within a mile radius that is single-family residential homes. But you also have the Sunny Mesa or the Sunland Village Towers those 3 4-story towers, if you can think kind of a little north and a little west of this project. You've got Stone Canyon, which is 2 and 3-story multifamily, which is just over on Southern and Higley. You've got multifamily over on Greenfield as well. You go south of the freeway down by the hospital, again, is multi-story, and you have 2 and 3-story multifamily there. So to say that 3-story is really out of character in this area, particularly on the old ranch, you do have a combination of single-story, 2-story, 3-story, and even 4-story development on that old property. And I would say I would applaud Max for doing that and having the foresight to have that much diversity of housing and commercial and residential and office and banks and retirement with Sunland Village, all in that kind of that ranch area. And so we do find a lot of different diversity, and we think this fits and will be a very good asset to this area. So with that, we would hope you'll support it, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And board members, any questions? I did want to follow up on, did you have something?
I guess it's a question. I mean, I can understand one of the comments for you, or if you'll be handling it or the city will be handling it, is the comment about the drainage channel making sure it's cleared out before everything continues, and it, because it's probably full of sediment, and making sure it's cleared out properly and dug out instead of blasted or something.
Chairman Crockett, Board Member Sarkeesian, yeah, absolutely. That again was a foresight by Max in doing this. He worked with the city of Mesa. The retention basin that you see on the north side of US 60 at Greenfield, there wouldn't be a Greenfield if it weren't for the foresight of Max in working with the city of Mesa to not only establish an on-off ramp at Greenfield, but as part of that, creating that retention basin over there on the north side of the freeway at Greenfield Road. But this ranch, or the farm, the Killian Farm, drains into that pipe and then over into that retention basin. That's what it was set up. With the ranch going away and development coming in, that pipe will be cleared out so that there is free flow of water.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
For the traffic engineer? Yeah, we have another, I guess, question on that traffic signal. Board Member Peterson.
Yeah, Ryan, will you just discuss the city process so you already explained how it doesn't meet warrants currently and how that over time is evaluated. So if there are some situations that come up, how the city addresses those?
Sure. Board Member Peterson, Chair. So we have a traffic engineering group. So we take traffic studies requests all throughout the city on a daily basis, whether that be a request for a traffic signal, or a request for a left turn arrow, site visibility, so on and so forth. So that would fall within those confines of just a typical traffic study request. Those are things that we handle with our engineers and our team in-house. And we would go out and collect data, perform observations, do a delay study to see if those warrants meet. So it would be something that we could react to if traffic conditions warrant that.
And those are initiated both by city staff, or if there's citizens that have concerns about it, then that'll prompt a study in the future for additional assessment of the light at that point.
That would be correct, yeah. A lot of our traffic studies requests are prompted by citizens. That is probably a good bulk of them, but we certainly do watch over areas where there is a significant growth or a significant change. We collect traffic volumes on an annual basis throughout the city to see how those are changing. We keep an eye on the proactive side as well as the reactive side.
Thank you. And then just one more question. Your assessment to this point, just to confirm that includes the school traffic as well, and school traffic impacts on Southern Avenue?
Board Member Peterson, Chair, that's correct. The existing traffic volumes on Southern Avenue, they're under 15,000 vehicles per day. And to put that into perspective, your typical 5-lane, I know that the cross-section does change east of 48th Street to 3 lanes in the eastbound direction, and then it reduces to the west of 48th Street to a 5-lane cross-section. The planning capacity for a 5-lane cross-section is upwards of 30,000 vehicles per day. So if you look at the arterial capacity, that's not an issue of introducing some new trips on Southern Avenue. I think the real question becomes the capacity of the intersection at 48th Street. Now, the existing school, sure, it probably has a pretty high peak 15 to 30-minute period, in the morning and in the afternoon where we've got parents coming to and from the school. A traffic signal would not serve those trips. It would be, what was described as kind of backup from the school that would then extend across 48th Street. That would affect the ability for a northbound vehicle to come onto Southern. That's how I see that school traffic could potentially affect 48th Street. But that traffic and that backup really comes back to the school and making sure that their circulation is working as best as it can be served. So hopefully that describes and answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. So Southern, the current capacity and over time stabilized capacity is, call it 50% of design capacity for the existing roadway?
I would say that's pretty accurate. If you look around the city at other 5-lane cross sections that are similar to Southern Avenue, you typically like Val Vista or other cross sections, we see 25,000 vehicles per day.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, are there any other questions for staff or the applicant? You ready to discuss this a bit? Are there any comments or any discussion you'd like to have as a board on this item? Board Member Sarkisian?
Sure, I'll go. I agree with the concern about the traffic and the 48th Street access. I mean, we're all kind of thinking it's gonna, like, in the future, it's gonna be something that'll have to be reevaluated. But at this time, based on the traffic comments and everything like that, and how the diligence is done, and regardless of the school traffic, I know I would love a street light at all the school entrances. It's just not something that warrants traffic lights. But I do feel that the property has done a lot to fit into the neighborhood, removing that access off of Hampton and removing the pedestrian access to remove that concern as well. I have seen, I mean, not in various parts of the valley, the 3 and even 4, some even 5 stories. It's awkward sometimes to get that high, but next to the single family residential, then they have had less separation. I feel this site has done a great job with the step ladder up to the higher 3 stories. And I feel in multifamily 3 stories is pretty typical to get, to make it an effective product and utilize the site the most. I feel like they have the great landscape plan, open space plan. I think they've done a lot of work here. And I do think they'll have a great product. So I am fine with this product as it's being shown, and I'm supportive of staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Morellen.
Yeah, if I could go. I agree with Jessica's position on this one. I think I've never seen a developer go to these extremes to work with a neighborhood. All my years of being in the development industry, working for the city, I've never seen a developer step up this much. So I appreciate what they're doing. I do feel for you folks that have lived there a long time, and it is going to be a little bit difficult. I know you have the back entrance on and off of Hampton to get in and out of your subdivision. Maybe it's not as convenient, but I do know there's a back access there. So I feel the same way. I feel like I support this development. I think that Max, I've known Max for a lot of years, and I live on part of the farm that was originally the farm, not this development, but and it's a great location. And I think strategically, the way he mapped it out, it makes sense. Just there's a little bit of everything in that area: commercial, multifamily, single family, custom homes. There's a lot of different things. So I support this project as well.
Thank you, Board Member Allen. Any other comments? Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll go ahead.
Board Member Allen?
I'll go ahead and give it a try. I would recommend that we approve ZON 22-00942, District 2, within the 1,200 to 1,300 blocks of South 48th Street and within the 47 to 4,800 blocks of East Hampton Avenue, located east of Greenfield Road and south of Southern Avenue, rezoned from single-family residence 43 and single residence 15 to multiple residence 3 with a planned area development overlay and a site plan review. This request will allow for a multiple residence development along with staff recommendation of approval with conditions.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Sarkisian.
reading.
So the motion has been made and is seconded. Let's go ahead and vote. Okay, by your vote of 6 ayes, no nos, and Board Member Pitcher recused, you have passed this item. Thank you. And thank you to the public for being here to express your views on this. So Assistant Director Prelog, do we have anything more today?
Chair, board members, no other announcements for today.
Okay, so with that, is there a motion that we adjourn our board meeting?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, would please vote. All right, you've passed the motion to adjourn. Thank you, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
There you go.